This video was brought to you by YugiOhMint.com. Check out their selection of over 20,000 cards and prices better than TCG Player.
Alright, what's up YouTube? I'm Cardfight here. I'm going to be doing a Garmore deck profile coming from you guys over at YugiOhMint.com. So guys, remember to check out YugiOhMint.com. Without them, we actually wouldn't have a lot of the cards you guys see in a lot of these videos. A lot of the nicer SPs we get from them when sets stock and everything. So you guys definitely should check them out down below. So, we're actually going to be doing our first run deck profile here for set 10. This deck is based off of the OCG concepts that were posted on Facebook from CDG, and honestly this is probably one of the funner decks that I've gotten the chance to play. Everything's going to be based around this guy right here. Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1. It's not a once per turn ability. You get to check the top 3 cards of your deck and then call a card from among them to rearguard circle. And then Gen Break 2, reveal the top 6 of your deck. For every high beast you reveal, choose a unit, give a unit 4K. If you reveal 4 more high beast and choose 4 more units, this guy gains a critical. So basically on your second stride, if you're going into this, things are actually broken. So, deck profile time. So, just 4 Garmore. I'm actually playing this over the old art because it doesn't look as good. This thing is irrelevant for what it does. You just typically go on to this for it having the heart requirements for this guy. But, your limit break 4. Counterblast 3 cards of Liberator in the card name. Look at the top card of your deck. Call up to 1 gold paladin from among them to rearguard. Put the rest on the bottom of your deck. And if you called a unit to an open rearguard, you get to reuse this ability without paying the cost. So if you have no board and you're going into limit break 3, you can continuously fill up an entire board with them. But that doesn't really happen. I think this would just be something that you would probably lulz drop against the 7 Seas deck. But overall, your columns and powers and the things that you get to do with this deck, I'll explain later. They're actually pretty insane. So, that's just our only grade 3. No need for others. Next up, 4 Aglaval. This is easily probably the 3rd best card in the deck, next to the Tacticianer here. So, Aglaval, Counterblast 1, check top 3, call 1 to an open rearguard, put the rest on the bottom of your deck. This guy gains 2k whenever you meet the requirements. So, Liberator Heart, call something from the deck, and then this thing, when its attack hits, you can choose a card from your damage zone and turn it face up. So, this is your countercharging engine in the deck. Very, very powerful. We've had this thing hitting 60,000 columns before. Also, your grade 2 game is absurd. As long as you're on the appropriate base, if you need to ride this, you keep this. This is your turn 2 play. If you don't have the appropriate 3 ride, you can ride this. This will get you a second turn. Also being on a 10k base against a lot of decks in the current metagame is really good. So that's our grade 2 lineup. Not much else to really explain there. Grade 1s. 2 of the Holy Mage. Unite 1 when she's called from the deck. You can return back to make sure that she comes to your hand at the end of the turn. No need for other guards. You have to keep in mind that with what you're going to be doing with this deck, I'm going to be creating powerful numbers. So just 2 Sentinels. Next up, 4 Stride Fodders. No other real explanation for this. This is supplementing for the lack of the other grade 3. Also, by having these as 7k boosters is really important. As long as your opening hand is one of these, or as long as you can get to one of those and these, you'll be in a really good position for the game to go. Alright, so this guy, this thing is from what? GBT08. So, this guy reads, Unite, when your other unit is placed on rearguard, so anywhere, Choose one of your other units in the same column as this unit. This thing gains 2,000 power. So if you have this and our little tacticianer here, your power columns are going to start generating amazing numbers, especially when you're going to be bypassing things. You have things like Zoran that will continuously go into the soul. You also have Catch Goal, which we'll talk about here in a second. But if you hit this, you'll send this into the soul to repeat things. Same thing with this. So bear that in mind. Once you get these going and start looping, you'll be able to create larger columns. So kind of want to play 4 Zoran. And then our last grade one Kugel. GB1, when it's called from the deck, draw a card. No other explanation. I kind of want to play 2 of this. It is a high beast. It's really good. Next up, for stand triggers, 4 Catch Goal, as I explained. If you call this from the deck, send it to the bottom of the deck and check top 3. It will allow you to get an additional spin on your power column, feeding for him and Mr. Tacticianer. So 4 of those. 4 Gigatech. Actually, this card is really good. So whenever something else is called from the bottom, while this thing's on the field, send this to the bottom, or to the top, shuffle, give that unit 5k and draw a card. And then, last but not least here, 4 Runebow, Counterblast 1, he goes into the soul himself. Check the top card of your deck, and call a gold paladin from among them. So, really excellent card. Loving soul. Next up, 4 little Napgles, heal trigger, and then last but not least, 4 Coels. Essentially, as long as everything goes good, if you're on this turn, once your Unite 2 is active, if you hit these, you can send these into the soul to check the top 3 to continue loading soul for your Gurgawit turn, which is really amazing. So keep in mind that, like I said, you have these Zoran, Catch Goal to create power columns. So don't underestimate the fact that there are 4 starters. So your extra deck. 2 Garmore. I've been wanting to play 3, but for the sake of the original OCG deck profile for testing, we're still on this point. If you need to stride into the 3rd, like my friend was telling me, you're probably going to die at that point in the game. So keep that in mind. But Gen Break 2 on your 2nd stride is a really power blowout. Once again, though, this thing will sufficiently fill your board and your columns. It's definitely very important to understand that. 1 Scourge Point. This is for if you have the double Agloval turn on your 1st stride, you can make it a really big number. It's just one of those things that if you're holding double Agloval and you need to just set up your combo early without wanting to waste your soul that you have, then this isn't a bad alternative, because you definitely have the room. Next up, 2 of the other base 1st turn stride. You have 3 things you can do turn 1. You have Gurgawit, you have Scourge Point, and you have this guy. This guy lets you check the top 7 for rearguard, but it's Counterblast 1, so I don't know how much I want to commit to this. This is also something that might be a little bit more of a later game for a boost after I've done Sunrise. Next up, this is your MVP. This thing isn't once per turn. Every Gold Paladin player should know this. Depending on what you're going into, if this thing actually fed into more soul than it should have, I think your most optimal turn will be using this 3 times. Never been able to do 4. But if you resolve this 3 times, this thing will get 75,000 power, and he'll break 100k. You are not playing critical triggers, so hitting your opponent in the face with very large numbers is very threatening. And one of the things you want to make sure that before you do with this card, your opponent needs to be at 5 damage, and I can't stress that enough. If your opponent's at 4, or if your opponent heals to 4, then this will be a waste of a turn because you don't have criticals to punish your opponent. It's definitely something that you might underestimate when looking at this card. You're like, I can stride into it to win. Only if they're at 5. Don't be foolish. You can't rely on massive draw triggers to do so. Though this thing does allow for deck thinning in the early stages of the game to compress for the stand triggers, you need to be very careful when using this, because you get one shot to OTK your opponent, and if you fuck it up, you'll be punished. Speaking of punishment, 4 copies of Glorious Reigning. This is another card that you're playing massive amounts of stand triggers. So in the turn that you want to go into this, you definitely need to consider that your stand triggers might not be as good. This is also something a little bit better the later the game goes. Also, depending on how you do things, though, I would recommend swinging rearguard column, swing rearguard column, swing with this skill, call, depending on the scenario, or call here. That way, if you hit the stand trigger here, you'll be able to get the full benefits of it. It's all just dependent on how you want to do things, but very good card for counter charging and soul charging. If you need to go into this to load up for your extra turn of this, don't be afraid to. 1 Sea Breeze, you might not look it, but you want to make sure that if you need to stride, you can turn on your Unite. It's definitely something that before I was selling this deck profile I realized, because I was wondering why I was playing Sea Breeze, but if you need to turn on your Unite to start loading your soul, depending on your turn, it's definitely not a bad thing to do. G-Guardians, 1 Dismal. I cannot stress this enough. This guy, you don't want your opponent to do anything to this guy. Once this guy's established on the board, you want him to stay there. And our good buddy Dismal does that for us. 1 Agleam, general deck thinning. You can cut this for another Slamey, but just filtering to make sure you can get to your stride fodder faster if you need it. 1 Prayer, general requirements, you just have to have 2 rear guards to proc it. Pretty good. And then, of course, last but not least, 2 Slamies. You use this card as a general filter. Actually, you'd be surprised. You can return one of your worthless catch goals back to the bottom of your deck, trigger this. You can weed out a grade 3. That way you don't want to call it off of a drive check or something else like that. So I'm just more worried about the deck thinning with this card. It definitely gets you there. So, as I said, for your general intents and purposes, your dream turn essentially is, I had 1 game where this actually happened. This was like the most insane Vanguard thing I ever had, and of course I called this, trigger this, and just proc these all into soul, just Unite 2 all day long. And at any point, if you hit fucking Zoran, you hit this is just a free extra call. You should definitely be able to resolve a Tacticianer to make sure that you're massively unflipping damage. But that's the most insane turn that your deck has. If anyone can ever resolve this guy for 125,000, you're a better Vanguard player than I. I've only done 6 so far. It's been the dream. But yeah, guys, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. Any opinions, comments, leave them down below. Remember to check out YugiOhMint.com as well down below. And, well, that is the current build. We're out. Peace.